Hi, YouTube friends, both old and new. Welcome back. Glad you're here with me. My name is Coletrain. I'm a faith-based filmmaker based out of San Diego, California. And so, I'm glad you're back with me. I did miss last week. I apologize. I was actually, most last week I was in Miami for a film festival I was doing. And so I wasn't able to get this video out in time for that. So I apologize. But I am back. I'm going to be consistent. I'm on this. And I'm stoked to be doing this video with you guys. This is a subject, this is a topic that I don't feel like a lot of people talk about. And if you're watching this video, it's because my ever so witty, slightly clickbaity title got you. And so I want to talk about freelance and filmmaking and where they coincide. And something that I've been really striving to do over the last few years is move away from freelance as I move more into filmmaking. And I'm going to explain what I mean by that. But before I jump into that, I do want to say real quickly, if you're into faith, filmmaking, creativity, being black, creating, any of those type of things, this channel, hopefully is a channel for you. And the only way you'll know is by subscribing and or liking this video and sharing it with a friend. And that's all I got. Let's do it. Okay, so in this week, as I'm processing out loud, which is, I think I like that name, it's sticking with me, I'm processing out loud, something that I've been really working on recently in my own creative journey and talking about with a lot of my creative friends is this idea that as a filmmaker, and when I say filmmaker, I do want to break it down. I truly mean someone who, I think the word filmmaker gets tossed around a lot nowadays, and that's okay. I'm not going to be like uppity about it, but I do think it's tossed around a lot, and I think it kind of has taken on a meaning that it's got a large umbrella, and it kind of absorbs a lot of different things. But when I'm saying filmmaking, I mean someone who you are a storyteller. You are taking a story, and you as a filmmaker, you want to tell stories, maybe mostly through narrative films or short films, or maybe even like certain commercial work. But again, it's a story. It's story based. Now, do I think you can tell a story with event recaps or a wedding or documentaries or any other maybe commercials or vlogs or things of that nature? I totally think you should. And I think the best of the best are people who find a way to incorporate a story, maybe of like a brand and their story, or a certain couple and their story, and you add that into your wedding film or your commercial or this, that, and the other. Those are all filmmakers, and I don't want to diminish that at all. But what I'm talking about is someone who wants to get into, again, narrative film work, screenplays, screenwriting, and that's their desire, and that's where they're wanting to go. Someone like myself. So when we're talking about those filmmakers, I think one of the big obstacles can be doing freelance work. What do I mean by that? This all came about a few years ago when I watched one of my favorite filmmakers, a guy named Morgan Cooper. If you're not following Morgan Cooper, you should be. There's no reason in the world you should be following me and not Morgan Cooper. He's incredible. You can find most of his work. He's got a YouTube, but I think you can find most of his work is going to be on his Vimeo page. He's got an incredible film, an incredible library of content spanning back I think close to 10 years now. But he made this film a few years ago called You Shoot Videos. It's an incredible film. I don't want to spoil it because it is an amazing film. It's about 45-minute short film. If you've got some time, I would just strongly encourage you to sit down and watch this film. I'll give you a super quick brief overview because it pertains to what I'm going to talk about. But it's about this guy who wants to get into filmmaking, and he starts off his journey doing music videos. He's doing a lot of music videos for local rappers and stuff like that. But his desire is to get into filmmaking, and so he is in the span of this film, he's going through this journey where he's trying to again get into the filmmaking space as primarily music video director. And he has this moment with his brother I don't know if it's his sister. I don't remember if it's a sister or just a friend, but this girl is talking about you need to create spec work. And it was the first time I ever heard this term. I was like, what is spec work? Well, obviously in the film, the same thing. The guy's like, what is spec work? And basically it's you are creating work that you want to be hired for in the future. Meaning, again, if you want to be a director of narrative films, practically how this plays out in the real world is if you want to do that, and let's say someone comes along and finds you and they go, hey, do you direct films? And you go, well, I do. I want to direct films. Or yes, I direct films. And they go, oh, great. We're thinking about hiring. We're looking for directors to hire for this film we want to do. And you're like, yeah, I'm excited. Like, I would love to do that. And they go, okay, well, send us your reel of works of films you've directed. And if the only thing you've ever shot up until that point would be like music videos or weddings or whatever it might be, vlogs, when you send them that reel, it's not going to be reflective of the type of work that you, again, want to do in the future. And so they might not pick you because you don't have any proof to show that you can direct a narrative short film. But let's say they do ask you and you send them, like, here's 2 or 3, maybe 4 different films you've directed, maybe some short, maybe some longer, whatever the case might be. Then you can kind of show proof that, hey, I can direct this film. Here's my style. Here's what I do. Here's my skill set. Please hire me. Well, if all you're doing is freelance, and I don't mean that in a bad way, like, I get it. Most people who are in a video space, they do freelance because you're trying to survive, right? You're trying to make money, you got to pay your bills, so on and so forth. And I totally understand that. And so most people get into freelance work, doing music videos, doing weddings, doing events, and doing corporate videos, whatever the case might be. They're doing that because they have to pay the bills, and that's fine and that's great. But understanding, if you want to break into a certain field, whatever it might be, again, maybe you want to get into like super high-end commercials. You want to make commercials for a company like Nike. Again, what happens if, by the grace of God, Nike comes knocking on the door, sends you an email and is like, hey, we want you to direct a film, but you don't have anything to show them in your portfolio that you can do that kind of work, you might miss out on your opportunity. That's where spec work comes in. Spec work is you are creating the work that you want to get hired for down the road. Let's continue down on the Nike example. Let's say you work for the Nike, Adidas, so on and so forth. Well, you've been doing videos for a while, you've gotten pretty good, you got your gear down, but you've been doing, again, a lot of events, a lot of weddings, music videos, so on and so forth. Spec work would be, maybe you have a buddy who's got some like old apparel, like boutique store or whatever the case might be, and you go to him and you say, hey, I want to create some spec work. Give me some of your shoes or clothes or whatever the case might be, and give me full control of a commercial, 30-second commercial. I'm going to create one for you, maybe even for free, and I'm going to create it like Nike would want to see. And so if you create maybe some work for them, maybe another friend of yours or whatever the case might be, you can create some work, and generally you do that kind of stuff for free or even at a loss to your own self. You create it so that as you get into those circles and as Nike, Adidas, whomever might see your work or might see you, they come in and they see that you have work to show to prove that, yeah, I can direct, DP, whatever it might be for, that type of project. And so I think it's something that was not, at least for me, it's something that's not talked about a lot, is maybe you're a filmmaker like me, you understand the world you want to get into. For me, I know I really want to get into, again, narrative screenplays, and taking scripts, writing my own scripts, or working with friends of mine who have really good scripts and developing films and that I direct or DP. That's what I'm really excited about. I also do I like doing commercial work. There's certain niches of commercial work that I want to get into, but I know that the more I spend a lot and all of my time just doing any odd job that comes my way, that's going to could possibly be a barrier for me to get into those fields. So what I've done over the last few years I've actually stopped taking pretty much 90% of the freelance work that comes in that I get offered, and I'm working almost exclusively on creating spec work. Now, again, I can do that because there's different ways of doing this. Maybe you're freelancing, you're like, oh, I can't do that all the time. Well, sure. Maybe you kind of try and batch for 3 weeks of the month. You go, those are the weeks I'm doing freelance work, but you don't take any work for 1 week of the month or maybe 1 weekend of the month, and you go, that's going to be my spec work weekend. And so you kind of just block off some time for that. Me, I've gone a different route where I work another full-time job at a church that pays my bills. And so I don't really need to take a whole lot of freelance work on the side to pay the bills. Now I'm taking all that freelance work all the time on the side that I would have. Instead of doing freelance work, I'm doing spec work. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, again, as I'm rubbing shoulders with certain producers or things of that nature, I want to be able to show them, here's some narrative work that I have done, directed, DP'd, and it allows them to see my skill set and what I'm capable of doing. I even have like a kind of fun little term for it. I call them cinematics. In my world, I call them cinematics. Basically what cinematic is for me is like, it's just a really, really short, narrative piece of work. I might even have like a 45-minute short film that I'm writing, and there's maybe just one 5-minute scene that's like really intriguing, maybe even has a little bit of like a suspenseful moment in it that makes like the audience like, whoa, what's happening next? And I will develop like, hey, let's go into pre-production and like plan this one and shoot this one scene again, just so I can work with some actors, I can work with the gaffer and a grip, I can work with locations, I can work with the producer, all that different stuff. I'm just doing like a mini version of what a film would be, just to be able to show someone like 5-7 minutes of like, here's some work I directed that's got some dialogue in it, that's got again some high level lighting, sound, some props, and some art direction, whatever it might be. I'm picking things strategically so that I can show people down the road, hey, I can do this. But I'm going to actually, a lot of the stuff that I'm developing over this next year, a lot of my cinematics or short films, whatever you want to call them, I'm developing over the next year. I will release more on my YouTube because it helps with also some BTS content and things of that nature. But no one's just gonna parachute into your life and just offer you a film. But if you again can do it on your own on a much smaller scale, and even for some of my projects, I'm committed to be like, hey, I'm gonna spend $5,000, $10,000 of my own dollars to do so, because I know if I execute well and the right people see it, it'll be an investment and a benefit for me down the road. But you have to be strategic and know, again, that I'm doing this because I want to get into this niche, and this is where I eventually want to be as a director, DP, cinematographer, whatever the case might be. Again, I think we should talk about spec work a lot more. I think turning down freelance work, if you're able to do it and do it responsibly, is a great thing. I think, again, maybe in your first 3, 4, 5 years of becoming a video maker, take all the jobs you can, because you get experience, you get hands-on cameras, all that different stuff. I think after a while, once you kind of are able to you kind of float for a little bit financially or just survive, if you want to start making that pivot, I think the way to make the pivot is to turn down freelance work, start moving into spec work. Freelance is great. It's super important. It's great to build connections. A lot of the people that I end up bringing on to the shoots with me, a gaffer or a grip or sound engineer, mixer engineer, a lot of those people I met on freelance shoots. So if I have a really good experience with someone, I'm like, ooh, man, we have a really good connection, really good rapport. I might even go, hey, this is a passion project. Would you mind in about 3 weeks helping me out with the passion project that, I may not be able to pay you your full rate, but it's a passion project for me to get into this narrative film work. A lot of times those people are down, and a lot of those people, again, I meet from shoots from freelance days. Those are all great. The freelance is super important, but I think, again, being strategic about pivoting to the next space is important. So all my spec work enthusiasts out there, holla at me in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Let me know, again, what your experience has been doing spec work or not doing spec work. Let me know, some tips and some tricks, some things that you've learned, some things that you do. I would love to just have more conversations about spec work because it's really important for me. And be looking out for some of my spec work that's coming out. I had to have one that's completely shot that I'm hoping to release here in the next month or so. I've got another one that's in pre-production for the summer, and I have another one in pre-production I want to do in the fall. Well, that's it for the video today. If this encouraged you, inspired you, if you have any questions, I would love to hear about it down in the comment section below. It means a lot. Again, I've said this in the past videos, but I want this channel to be a community. I love to get to know and get to hang out, get to comment back and forth with creators and people like myself who think about these things the way I do, or even the way I don't. I'm willing to have pushback and feedback about some of these things, and again, learn, because I'm all about learning and growing as a filmmaker. So that's all I got for you this week for this episode of Processing Out Loud, talking about freelance spec work. Thanks for checking it out. See you next week.